Exclamation, everybody, and welcome to RAIDBORN. It is by Phoenix Games, and it is currently in early access on Steam for 25 bucks US. I've played a bunch of it so far, a couple hours here, with a couple different runs, and it is a first-person action RPG. With some base building mechanics in there, but it is mostly focused on dungeon crawling. So there's no open world or anything like that. It's just you jump to various places you want to go and collect, kill monsters, collect crafting materials and building materials, and use those for either upgrading your weapons or to basically add additions onto your outpost. There's not much of a story or anything like that. It's just kind of pretty straightforward. But let's jump in to a game that I've been already in progress here. I'm about, I would say, maybe 4 hours into this particular run. We'll give you a little tour of what's going on here first of all. So it's very it feels very Elder Scrollsy in some ways, but it obviously is very watered down and straight to the point as to what it's trying to do. Now this is a little bit annoying. I told you had a thing to do, but I don't know if you've done it or not. So I turned in a quest for this area. So I guess first of all I should explain what's going on. So in the story here, you start out, if you do the tutorial, you start out in a castle. You are doing your final training. You're about ready to, you get your initial combat training and all that stuff, and then you're sent to the king to get your marching orders. And when you go into the throne room, enemies appear out of thin air. Oh, there it is. It just kicked over. Enemies appear out of thin air, and the king is murdered. You are blamed for it, although your trainer pretty much understands that there was no way you just walked right in from training and just murdered the king. So he sets you up in this outpost and says, go clear your name, and assigns this NPC called Aurelia.
The ritual is complete. I was able to locate multiple crystal deposits. There seemed to be far more than I anticipated. Unfortunately, the intense energy emanating from the crystals is interfering with the tracking process. Besides, they also pose a significant threat to the people of Runia. I am afraid combat is not my strength. So I must ask you to visit these locations and find a way to neutralize the crystals. I am waiting here for your return.
Alright, and so that's our main quest going on. And first thing we come in here, there is nothing unlocked at all, not this room or anything. And Aurelia's standing there and she says, go get the resources to open up this laboratory. And so you have to run around to the various dungeons and gather some gold, sell some stuff off at the town, and basically get the resources you need in order to unlock this area. And then once you do that you can start to progress the main quest there. Also, as you're going along, you can build out the outpost. So the outpost was just this one room. As you can see over here, there's a thing that lets you to expand it. So I've expanded the outpost over here, and some of our building is complete here. I was able to get enough materials to get a crafting area, a workshop here, which I believe you could find somebody in town that will that you can assign to it to help you out with various things. And like, I can't interact with this notice board until I get a craftsman for it, so that'll be a thing. These tunnels are for the Builders Guild, which I have not unlocked yet. This is your main storage. They have a storage area basically in every room here. This is telling me how many facilities you have and how many crew I have assigned, which I don't have any. And right here, I just finished building the basically crew quarters. It has 3 beds here, room for 3 beds. So hopefully that means I'll be able to actually start assigning people here, assuming I can actually find the person that does the crafting here. And then we can expand the outpost even further. So the main thing here is all that stuff requires a whole bunch of resources. Let me see if I can expand this. Do I have enough? I need 2,000 for it. I got 1,575. So that's obviously not going to do it right now. Okay. I have a bunch of goblin tongues. I don't know why. Let's go put some stuff away that I don't need to be carrying around everywhere with me. I'm going to put this away because, well, you know what? I'll hold on to this. It's apprentice level, and I haven't unlocked apprentice level yet. So there's different levels of weapons, starting from novice and going on up, and then as you level up and you give yourself skill points and whatnot, you can start to level up those things. These flasks are all for crafting and stuff, so I can leave them in here. The crafting, from what I understand, will take from your storage, so you can leave all that stuff in here and do that. So the water bottles there, the wine bottle, and lance, iron ingots, leather, scrap, steel ingot, the weapon remains. So when you kill enemies and stuff, they will drop their weapons, but you don't pick up their weapons, you pick up weapon remains. So you can't just, so enemies don't just drop better weapons for you to use, unfortunately. Which is a bit of a bummer, because that would make it, I think, far more interesting. But there is a limited number of weapons in the game as it is, so that's where we're at with that. And this is a runestone. I'll leave that in there. Once I figure out how to enchant weapons, which I don't have the enchanting thing to do it with, so there's that. We have, down in the right hand corner there, we have 97 arrows, we have 6 health potions, and we have 32 stamina potions. You can map things just by hovering over them in your list here. You can map things to hotkeys, and I want to map the stamina potion to 8 here. There we go. And then health potions on 0. Okay. That's good. That's good. All right. Let's go back to town. So these are, I believe, the things in red are the main quest area things, I believe. You can see there's like level 10. It tells you what you're going to face. Skeletons, goblins. I think there's also hungers up here. Level 15 is a bit too high for me. And then level 5. And then they also tell you, like, oh, you're going to find building materials here and stuff, which is really important for building out your outpost. And then I think there's other ones that will show you, like, crafting. So this one has common plants for your alchemy stuff and whatnot. And then there's these question marks, which are events. Events just kind of randomly pop up as you do things. And we have one here, like, that's remote blacksmith, where I have to craft a key to get into the blacksmith's house, and I found the recipe for it. I have the crafting bench now, but I don't have the mithril ingot I need in order to craft it. So that's so we have to find that at some point. So, and each of these enemies has a little something different going on. Like goblins, as you fight them, they steal from you, and then when you kill them, you get all your stuff back that they stole from you. But as they hit you successfully, they steal, which could be a little bit annoying because they can like steal health potions and stuff. But it is what it is. Skeletons are pretty straightforward melee stuff. Although, as we'll see, and we'll go into the skeleton one here because I need some building materials. They also have like skeleton mages, which are ranged, and they are all the ranged enemies in the game are very annoying to deal with. Mages particularly because they deal a ton of damage. Now you see there's one laying on the ground there, but it could be a prop, it could be a real one, so the only way I can find out is to shoot and hit. Yep, that's a real one. See how much damage they do. And then that woke this guy up. And we'll introduce you to the Mighty Boot, because the game insists on you using this. Even though I don't particularly like to fight this way, the game insists that you have to fight this way. Because if you don't, you won't get very far. And that leads me to my first criticism of the game here. The combat, so you can see there's like a combo meter that shows up as you're doing things. And I think there's been a real effort to try and make the combat a little bit more different than what you would expect from a game like this. You know, have a little bit more variety in it. Unfortunately, it's ponderous. It's really just a out-tank your enemies kind of situation. So basically load up on health potions and just kick and kick and kick until you you know, knock out the enemy's stamina bar, which is the green bar for enemies. And then if you stun them and you kick them again, they will ragdoll. So you can see there's a lot of areas like this that have spikes on the wall. So when they're stunned and you kick them, you can ragdoll them into the spikes, and that will usually kill them in one shot if you've got enough. If you kick them far enough and hard enough. If you're right next to it, it doesn't work. So there is a little bit of physics involved there. However, and there's other areas as well where you can. Oh, this is the other jar I needed for that quest. There's other areas that you would kick them down into a lower area where they could, you know, do a whole lot of damage from falling and other things. Sometimes there's even spikes down below that you can kick them onto. That is really, it's, for one thing, it's can be a little bit OP if you just put all your might, all of your skill points into might and into your kicking. As I'll show you here under a character sheet. So if you go basically, if you get two bits of assault, right, then you can get to like the second. So you need 2 assault and 2 rage mode basically to get to the second tier of pedal force here, which traps inflict 50% more damage. This does stamina damage if kicks increases by 20%. So on and so forth. We have a lot of different skills that you get here with your skill points. You get skill points as you level up. I think you get 1 point as you level up. And you're doing that. So there's a lot going on there. These are all, from what I understand, these are all procedurally generated maps. So, and the procedural generation, for the most part, is actually pretty good. Like, the maps are, they're similar, but they're also varied enough that it works out pretty well. As far as variety is concerned, and there's often a lot of like hidden areas, like this one you can go into and stuff like that. So it is interesting enough from that perspective. I've seen some pretty interesting things that have been generated. Like I've never seen this particular layout before. I've seen, walls and stuff like this, and there's definitely this tile set, but not this particular way of things being laid out here. So that makes it interesting because, obviously you're going to be revisiting a lot of areas often. I mean, very often, because that's the whole point. You're going to farm materials and stuff. So you're going to be going back and forth between areas a lot. And I think the area goes, like, after you've cleared it out, because there's a boss in every area, it will briefly come off the map. And then I think after, like, an in-game day or something or two, it will return. Go. I've upgraded this sword, by the way. This is, or not upgraded. I bought a goblin sword from the vendor in town, so I'm doing a ton more damage than I would normally be doing here. But like I said, the game is, in the early game here, it really assumes that you're going to just keep kicking and kicking and kicking and kicking. It's really built around that. And I say that, I like the idea of the combo system and stuff, and I like the idea of the combat. The problem, as I see it, is they don't give you enough options in combat for different ways of approaching things. I mean, yes, I've got a bow, and yes, I get, bonus headshot damage, and yes, I can get, stealth damage put in for it. Skill points for that. But far too often, like I can't be a ninja in the game, right? Like I can't sneak up really and kill very much. Like with that one, I got lucky that there was only one there. But the reality of the situation is, most of the time, if I see an enemy way off in the distance and I shoot it, every enemy in the area will just wake up and run right at me. Like they instantly know where you're at. So it's very often like, it feels like the combo system and the combat has been set up for 1v1. And in fact, when you're doing your training, you're only doing the training in 1v1. And it works really well in 1v1 combat. But you're almost never doing just 1v1. It's almost always like 2, 3, 4, 5 enemies coming at you. Or spawning behind you. Because it is possible to, stealth your way through a lot of this, but there are enemies that will just spawn, from bones and whatnot on the ground, and they'll instantly know you're there. They're like instantly aggroed. So just like that guy just did, right? So it's, you really can't as much as I want to play this a different way, like I want to be sort of stealthy and awesome that way, I can't because the game just doesn't want me to play that way. Like it feels like you should have a variety of combat options. And the way it's laid out, it seems like there should be some there. But there really isn't. And as you can see here, it's all just about, you're just tanking, really. You're tanking a whole bunch of damage. You're knocking them silly. They're blocking most of your shots, you know. And that's basically how it goes. It's not, there's no subtlety about it. There's no best way that I can tell about going about things. You're basically just run in, weapon swinging, and foot kicking. You know, you basically just kick them till you stun them, and then swing away. And that's about the only, at least in the early game, that's about the only thing that works. Meanwhile, you're popping health potions like they're going out of style, because that's just, you know, you can't prevent the damage from happening as much as you might want to. You know, you can get better armor, and there's abilities for the shield to kind of block some damage and to reflect some damage back. But in my practice here, and in fact in the tutorial, they're like, yeah, just time your blocks and then you'll get a stun on them. And I have never once outside of the tutorial been able to actually time a block such that I got, you know, a stun off on an enemy or something like that. It just doesn't seem to work outside of that one little tutorial area. And I don't know if that's just a bug, an oversight, or just the fact that the combat system is not as robust as I think they intended for it to be. At least as it stands right now. Now, granted, it's still early access, and things are still changing, and I can't expect a fully fleshed out experience just yet. But it is kind of frustrating because there's a lot to this game that I like, but it seems to me like in their zeal to you know, simplify the formula, as it were, they've removed a lot of options that I would have rather had. Because it feels like, in many ways, it feels like the I mean, I'm constantly reminded of Elder Scrolls games, in that the combat in those games also really disappointed me in the same way that this combat disappoints me, right? Like, I can't go, like, I have a bow and there's stealth abilities, and yet you're not rewarded for that, right? Like, yeah, maybe, you know, you'll get lucky and knock one enemy down, you know, immediately with your stealth, but then you'll have every other enemy in the area wake up and just come after you. It's not reliable. It's not very effective in the long run. And okay, that's weird. So that's really weird. I wonder if that's because I have better lockpicking skills now. So the lockpicking minigame, you're supposed to be able to do up, down, left, and right. And I was hitting up and down on that, and it wasn't registering. And I wonder if because I have a better lockpicking skill, it was preventing me from doing the wrong combination. That's kind of interesting. That's an interesting way of handling it. Still don't... I mean, as far as mini games go, it's okay. I don't like how it feels more. I would rather just have it be a dice roll, honestly, because it feels pretty RNG as it is, even with the way they have it set up. Even though technically you can remember parts of the combination, it still doesn't feel. Yeah, see, now this guy's gonna cut. Look, see, look, and that's what I'm talking about. You can't. Like that other guy just woke up now. Right? I do like the ragdolling. I'll say that much. But again, you see how that combat went, right? It's very... For all the mechanics that they have in there, with the combos and stuff, it's very anticlimactic and not particularly satisfying, right? You have all these stats that you could build up, and yet it doesn't feel like any of those stats really matter other than the kick stat, and that's about it. Everything else just kind of feels like if it's doing anything, it's not helping you to it's not giving variety in the combat, right? It's just kind of, it's still funneling you always towards one style, and that's it. And that's a little bit disappointing. So we took out the boss here. You saw it on there. Every area has a boss, as I said. So now we're pretty much done here, so we can just travel immediately. And you can travel, I think, pretty much at any time as long as you're not in combat. So if you do end up in an area, and I've tried this before, where like things are just way too over your head, or you run out of potions or something, as long as you get to like a safe-ish area, you can just kind of use the map and travel out of it. As far as I understand the way it goes. But that kind of gives you an idea of the combat and of the different areas. There is I don't know if I got everything for that herb witch yet, but let's go to Everban City. This is where we start out. This is what we got basically kicked out of, but we're able to travel the city, just not to where we were. And it's a new day, so merchants have new items, and there are new quests available. So the quests are decent enough. I mean, they're just, they're essentially fetch quests, right? Go get this, go kill this many things, that kind of thing, which is fine. I don't have a particular problem with that. It's a dungeon crawler, so you're kind of expecting that. One of the weird things, though, and here's where I'm going to kind of be nitpicky a little bit, but the audience for a game like this probably likes RPGs, right? You're probably not going to bring somebody into this game who has never played an RPG before, right? This is the kind of game that people who've played RPGs in the past will probably want to play. Oh, I forgot to, sorry about that. I've had that little screen up the whole time and not the full game. I apologize. Um, so there are certain things that you expect from one RPG to the next. There are certain, like, I don't want to say ground rules, but there are certain conventions that a lot of RPGs share. One of those is the quest giver stuff. Now, up on my compass there, you can see a bunch of icons. A lot of them are probably self-explanatory. A lot of them are just merchants and the different types of merchants, right? You'll see some of these yellow icons. You'll see the hand icon, which is unique to this game because that's basically those are people that you can recruit to your outpost. So that makes perfect sense. Then there's question marks and there's exclamation points. So, me being someone who's played RPGs, plenty of RPGs in the past, I look at the exclamation points and I go, oh, that's a quest giver. That's a quest I need to turn in. Or I should say that's a quest giver, I should say. And yes, that's true, but also false. So the quest givers are the ones with the question marks over their heads. They're the ones that you go to actually start a quest. The ones with the exclamation point are the ones where you've completed the quest. It's a little bit weird. And honestly, I would have rather it been different colored exclamation points or something. I could get that maybe for accessibility purposes you wanted to make them different symbols. I don't know that I would have chosen question mark and exclamation point because that doesn't make a whole lot of sense and nothing else does that I'm aware of. But this is where we're at. So this guy apparently has a quest for me.
A good day, is it?
Hey, you, I might have an offer that could be of interest to you. Together with my wife, I live in a cabin outside the city. Last night, I suddenly heard a knock on my door. Still half asleep, I opened and nearly collapsed in shock. A terrifying monster glared at me and whispered something about a master. It demanded that I bring a human sacrifice to Grimstone Castle by the end of the week, or it would take my wife and me instead. I almost lost faith. I could hardly believe what had just happened. I already told the city guard about it, but of course they don't believe a word I say. But I tell you that is the truth. I certainly won't turn anyone in, but I can't put the lives of my wife and me in danger either. I'm totally desperate. There's only one option. Someone has to put an end to the activity in Grimstone Castle before more disaster befalls the land. You served in the city guard, right? What do you say? Will you lend me your hand? Of course. I will reward your success appropriately. Kill all the hungers in Grimstone Castle. Okay, accept. Sure. So that's one quest. We have another quest giver over here who is brand new. Since I've done other things and progressed the time.
Greetings.
Excuse me, do you have a moment for me? I did something terrible. For a long time, I've desperately been trying to get the attention of Sally. Out of despair, I bought a recipe for a love potion from a traveling merchant. After secretly mixing the brew into her drink, I waited for the effect. But to my great amazement, she suddenly transformed into a rabbit. I still couldn't believe it when the animal suddenly jumped away. An eternity passed as I tried to catch the animal until I eventually reached Stone Dark Caverns. Some nasty creatures are known to lurk there, so I didn't dare go inside. Sally must be somewhere in Stone Dark Caverns, but I am not skilled enough to take on the monsters that dwell there. So will you help me with the problem? I have an appropriate reward if you manage to succeed. Find rabbit for Clifton. Okay. And your quests are on your little quest thing here as well. So you can see which ones are main, sides, and events that have popped up. Now this other one with the exclamation point is the guy that I have to turn in those jars to. Is it you?
Hello, traveler.
Yep. Oh, there's the material I've been waiting for. It took you long enough. I was about to hire someone else, but you showed up just in time. Take this. I'm sure you'll find it useful. And got lockpicks, health potions, and gold and XP. That's good. The rewards are usually pretty good, so I'll say that much. Now, the game... I did say there's some quirks in this game. One of those is...
Hello, traveler.
Oh, that wasn't it. Let's see if I can make it happen here. Yes, only weirdos approach people from behind. Only weirdos approach people from this distance. Yeah, the game wants you to be at a particular distance and a particular angle to talk to NPCs, which is funny on one hand, but also very annoying because you just want to be done and over with, right? It's like, why? Just let me talk to them in regular things. I assume that that might very well just be like an early access thing because they don't have the appropriate camera control to turn the camera to face the NPC, or maybe the NPCs don't have the animation necessary to face you correctly. I'm hoping that's just the case, and it's just like it's not a thing they want to permanently keep in there, because that gets really annoying really fast. So let's go talk to this guy. Let's get a couple potions. See, the health potions are just expensive, very expensive, and yet they're the thing you need the most of. We have a charisma skill book here and a knowledge tome. So I should probably, a treasure map too. I should probably explain the skill books and knowledge tomes here. So over in the character sheet here, you've got knowledge. You see I've got 2 out of 3 in lockpicking already. But you can see in order to get the next level, I need both a skill book and a learning point. So you're like, what the hell does that mean? So, as you saw here, this guy is selling skill books. And this particular skill book will increase my charisma by 1. However, I need a knowledge point as well. And in order to get a knowledge point, you need a knowledge tome. So essentially, in order to get 1 charisma stat point of increase, I need to spend 3,000 coin here to get both of these. Or I need to find knowledge tomes out in the world, which, again, a grind. A lot of things in this game are just a big old grind. So I don't know why that's a thing. I really don't. My guess is the skills are a bit overpowered, and so the thought was, let's make it harder to update your skills because they make you so super duper powerful. But then you've got skill points and you've got knowledge points, right? So it's very confusing when you first come in here, because basically it's saying, all these things, like under Barbarian, Defender, Knight, Rogue, Craftsman, all these are just skill points, and you get skill points just by leveling up, like you would in any other RPG. But when it comes to knowledge, it's got this other weird mechanic with you need both a skill book and a learning point, and I don't know. It just doesn't compute, right? I don't know why this is being done this way. It feels like there was some kind of balancing mechanic that was trying to balance it out a little bit, because maybe skill books are being dropped by enemies and dropped as random loot in the random loot table far too often, and so instead of fixing the loot tables, they added another mechanic to make it a little bit harder, where you gotta have the learning points, because the learning books certainly don't drop hardly at all, right? So I don't just fix your loot tables. There's no reason to have this mechanic be complicated like that, right? It's just like everything else about the game is trying to be simplified and watered down, and yet they put this weird, awkward mechanic in there where you need both of these things going, and all it does really at the end of the day is it means that you're just carrying all these skill books around that you can't use, right? Because you don't have the knowledge tome or the learning points for it. Now, there is a event that seems to always come up that I've done, right? Where I get you get this dark encyclopedia, which grants you a learning point in exchange for a skill point. So if I don't want to, so if I level up and I get a skill point and I don't want to use that skill point for skills, which seems really stupid in the early game at least, I could trade that in for a knowledge point to then use the skill book that I have, which, as you can see, I have a vitality skill book that I can't use right now in my inventory, right? It's just, it's needlessly complicated. There's no reason for it, right? It's just weird. Like, just simplify that. There's no reason to have that be this way. That I can see, now, again, early access, maybe they're just testing it. Maybe they're just trying to see what works and what doesn't work. Fine. I can tell you right now, doesn't work. Fix it. Period. End of story. It's just a dumb mechanic. Just don't do that, like, or figure out some other way of granting knowledge points. Like, there's a lot of these lecterns around in the world, right? And right now all they do is grant XP when you find them in dungeons. Maybe those should grant a knowledge point instead of granting XP. Just saying, right? Like, throw a bone here. There's got to be something, because it's kind of awkward and weird as it is right now, and it just means you're carrying all these books around that you can't do a damn thing with. The other part of that too is, and I haven't really touched on it yet, but I might as well touch on it now. If we go back to our home here, do I have, did I sell enough to get 2,000? Did I have anything to sell? Yeah, hang on. I forgot to sell some things. Let's go. I need 2,000 to expand the outpost here. So I can actually show you what building menu looks like, because I don't think I can get to the building menu otherwise. Which is, again, a little bit weird, but, I'm willing to overlook that for now. So, Torture X, this is two-handed. I'm just going to sell... I had two of those. Interesting. And... So, copper ore can be melted, so hold on to that. The nuggets, you can't do anything with as far as I know, so sell those. Or, candlesticks will sell, the cups will sell, the nuggets will sell, the ore we keep. Metal and stone we need, and then coin pouch, I just have to open it. How many do I have? Oh, does it just have 7 coins in it? Is that? Oh no, it sells for 7 coins. I think there's usually 20 coins in there. Yeah. But it sells for 7 coins, even though there's 20 coins in there. Alright, so that we're up to 3,000 gold here. Let's go and expand the outpost here for 2,000 gold. That's going to take a little bit of time, as you can see there. So we'll let that go for now. This just telling you warnings and production and stuff like that. And we know about the main chests there. Kinda want to wait for the construction to complete so I can show you the building menu, because as far as I know, that's the only way I can get to the building menu. I don't think there's another way to do it unless there's something here. Tab next. No, there isn't. No, it doesn't say. Doesn't say anything there. Yeah, as far as I know, too, as soon as you put these down, you can't like move them. Like these. There's no way to like say, oh, I don't want this here anymore. I want to move it somewhere else. Not that it matters all that much, but sometimes it's nice to have everything in one spot. I wonder if so I can't interact with that. That's going to take a little bit of time. All right, let me wait for that to build out so that I can show you what the building menu looks like, so you can see what we're facing there. So hang on tight, friends, for just a moment. Okay, so we're almost complete here. A couple other things I wanted to talk about too while this is finishing up. Revolving around combat and other parts of this. So down in the bottom corner there, you can see a yellow bar, a yellow segmented bar. That's your stamina bar. Well, that's not your stamina bar. The green bar is your stamina bar. That's your like special like power move. So you get like 3 power moves, and that fills up as your combo meter fills up. And then that allows you to hold down left click as you're swinging your sword, and then it will do a heavy power move, like a heavy maneuver, a critical, as it were. And so that can be pretty vital as you're getting surrounded by a lot of stuff. The other thing, the purple pentagram kind of thing, it's not really a pentagram, but the purple star there. So that is your possession, your current level of possession. I haven't showed this off yet because it's pretty bullshit, and I don't want to be angry on this video. But once you get into the level 10 areas on the map here, so and above, so like this level 10 area with the skeletons, the boss of the level 10 areas usually has some kind of possession mechanic, from what I've seen, at least with the skeletons anyway. And what that means is they will basically spam this spell that you, as far as I know, cannot block. Like you can't avoid it, you can't block it, they just keep spamming it over and over again. And that starts to increase the possession bar on the bottom corner there. And that starts to have effects on you, like it slows down your recovery, stamina recovery, and stuff like that. And when that fills up, it basically insta kills you. And it's as bullshit as it sounds, because basically, there are potions that you can pop to reduce your to reduce the possession meter. There may even be some way of shielding against it. I have not. It might be in there somewhere. But early on in the game, you just don't have access to that kind of stuff, and it's pretty nasty. The boss enemies will just spam the hell out of it, more so than even attack you physically. And again, the game just expects you to just tank all that. I mean, that's the kind of disappointing thing about the combat, is it just kind of expects you to just tank a whole bunch of damage, and not really, it doesn't really give you the ability to, as much as it gives you skills to kind of deflect things and maybe dodge a little bit, it doesn't really work in practice. So that really sucks. That part of it sucks. And that's why I say the combat is very underwhelming, because it just kind of assumes you're just going to absorb a whole bunch of damage. Also, another thing, the game does have a death penalty stuff. When you start a new game, you're given a bunch of options. And one of those is difficulty. The other one is death penalty. The normal death penalty, when you die, charges you both XP and gold, I believe. And both of those are pretty steep. Like, when I died, it was like 540 XP and like 500 gold or something. It was, or maybe 200 gold or something like that. It was pretty steep cost, and it's very, very easy. I've been playing with this particular character on or this particular playthrough I've been doing as on easy mode because the game is just so unforgiving, even on normal mode. And on normal mode, basically you can very easily get into a death spiral where you just cannot produce or buy enough health potions to sustain a run through one of the dungeons, and you're just basically just stuck at that point. Like the only thing you can do is start a brand new playthrough. And I've this is slot number 3 for me, so it's like I've already bricked basically 2 characters because it's just like it's just very woefully unbalanced on normal difficulty. So I've been playing this one on easy, and I've gotten a hell of a lot further. So here's the facility building stuff. So you can see we already have the laboratory. That was the first thing you were required to make, basically for the main story. We have a crew quarters already, so to help out with that. Bedroom, you can see how much gold and lumber and metal it takes. Now you might think, oh, 15 metal, that's not bad. It's terrible. It's like lumber and gold and stone come by pretty easily. Metal has been an absolute pain in the ass. Just to get the 20 metal I needed for the workshop, I was stuck at 19 metal for hours just trying to get that one more metal to get to 20. It's just the grind is just terrible right now. Then you can see there's an alchemy lab. There's a garden to produce the flowers for the alchemy lab. The builders guild to unlock tunnels to order building material for outpost. The trading post. Then there's a chapel to get to recover from possession and disease, and stuff like that. Again, all of these are super expensive. You might think, oh, these are all this is fantastic. You just do a little bit of grinding, get this. No, this is hours upon hours upon hours of grinding. Like it's not like a half hour 45-minute grind. It's a lot. And for a game that claims it's going to be 20 to 30 hours, I don't believe that, because just to unlock some of this stuff probably will take just that much time. And the forge, so these up here, the forge, the tavern, the explorer guild, and the rune forge, I believe all of these require me to have stuff under here. I think alchemists, I have to have alchemists in order to unlock the alchemy lab for my outposts. And then the enchanter, I have to do that to unlock the rune forge. And then blacksmith I've just done, so that unlocks the forge. So some of those you need, and some of those are from these, and some aren't. So I think that's. And then the Explorer Guild, you have to be level 10 to get to that. The Forge, you have to be level 10. I think all of these you have to be at least level 10 before they unlock. So that gives you an idea of the different facilities you can build. And I like the facility building stuff. I like how they've done it. What I don't like is that they leave you in the lurch for so long. Like, really honestly, like the first thing they insist that you make is the lab, which honestly I would not do. I mean, but at the same time, I don't think the other buildings unlock until you do the lab, question mark. I don't know. I've always done the lab, even though it's not really the one thing that I want to do. Because the very first thing that you really need is this crafting area, this workshop. And it's so expensive to do this, even though it's completely necessary. This is the only way you can help stop yourself from getting stuck in a death spiral, right? Because you can come in here and just start crafting So well, actually, this isn't even it, right? Like this is just crafting arrows and stuff. Um, Honestly, what you really need is the alchemy lab as the first thing, um, because you really need a way to craft potions, especially health potions. And that alchemy lab, as I showed, was not cheap, right? Like if I come over here and look, the alchemy lab is, yeah, it's 20 metal, so it's as expensive as the workshop. 10 lumber, 2,000 gold. I think the workshop was 1,500 gold. Yeah, so it's even more expensive than the workshop. But honestly, you kind of need this. And then you, in addition to that, I believe you'll probably also need the alchemist thing here to brew potions, right? So you need like that one skill point for that, which shouldn't be too hard to come by, plus the alchemy lab. I mean, if you're going to play this game on a harder difficulty, like that's probably the very first thing you have to do, I would say, because I don't see any other way of avoiding just being completely overwhelmed by enemies. Because there's only so many low-level things. There's only so many low-level things you can do before you have to kind of either, I guess, restart the game or figure something else out. Because yeah, it all adds up. Even the low-level things, even if you're just grinding out level 5 stuff, like it still eventually will wear you down to where you don't have enough health potions and stuff to tank, through the levels. So yeah, I mean, that's the big problem right now. The balance is way off. And the combat is very one note. I like the base building stuff. I like that there's just jump right into the action. I like the procedural generation of the maps. I like that there's secrets and stuff there. So it feels fresh every time. I like that there's events. I feel like there should be more events. I think, it might be just early right now, but if they could put, 24 or more events in and have those, pop up instead of just the same events over and over again, that would be fantastic. Because that just, it makes the world, it makes it less ponderous as far as just like doing the same thing over and over and over again. What they really need to do too is just balance out the economy and balance out the building materials and stuff. It just costs way too much to do things. It's far too easy to get stuck in a spiral where you just cannot pull yourself out of it. One or two bad runs where you die can just completely annihilate your character. And it's just, annihilate your save basically. And, just stuff like that. It's just, I like what's here. I really, really like what's here, which is why the faults kind of are very frustrating. Because there's a lot of good here, and I can see this being a lot of fun. It's just, it probably should only be like an 8-hour experience, not a 20 to 30 hour experience, right? Like it should probably be sped up quite a bit, because there's just not enough. There's not enough here that you could naturally get a 20-hour experience out of it. You could unnaturally get one out of it, like because there's a definite addicting gameplay loop here, and I think if they tighten up that loop and they tighten up the balance to an extent here, they could get it to a point where someone might play for 20 to 30 hours, even though there's only really 8 hours of content, because the gameplay loop is fun. But right now, it's very slow and very ponderous, in a lot of areas, and just not. It needs some a little bit more pizzazz, I think, for some of the stuff. In the combat, it would be great if we could do different, if there was different builds you could do, or a different way of doing combat besides just run up, kick somebody, run back, run up, kick somebody, run back, run up, kick somebody, run back. It's just, it can be really, really not fun after a while. But it's early access, and all these things can be changed, and I've talked quite a bit about it. I've put a couple hours into it. This is what I'm trying to do now with a lot of my first impressions videos. Is I'd like to put some more time into them so I can come here and actually talk about some of the stuff that I've seen in the game and some of the more advanced stuff and whatnot. And this is not something you would have gotten, or I would have been able to do in just like here's the first 30 minute setting, because there's way more to this than I could show in like the first 30 minutes. So I really need to put some more time into this one. But like I said, I'm really enjoying what's here, and I think this game has a lot of potential, quite a lot of potential to it. So I think there's good stuff here all around. Just really quick, I wanted to show you what it looks like to start a new game. So difficulty, here's the different difficulty settings. Like I said, I'm playing on relaxed, because even normal is kind of rough right now. Combat, I could not tell you what this actually means. It says defines the duration and intensity of combat, slow and fast, and slow increases enemy and player health. Fast increases enemy and player damage. Don't know. And then there's balanced. So I don't understand what that's trying to accomplish. I guess by increasing the damage, it's slightly faster, but I mean, I don't know. I have not messed around with that, because to me it seems like, because it's increasing the enemy damage, it just means I'm going to die that much faster, or I'm just going to go through potions that much faster. So I don't know on that one. The economy, so you can tweak that a bit. You can make it relaxed, normal, hard. I've been keeping it on normal, and normal is pretty grindy. So again, this might be something you want to tweak to be more relaxed. Death penalty, like I said, I've disabled it because on normal it's rough, and I can't imagine doing even normal, because you'll get into a death spiral really quickly. And then there's permadeath. Ends the game when you're running out of lives. So I guess you get a certain number of lives here. Yeah, 1 life, 2 life, so on and so forth. And then you can also skip the tutorial. So so that is that, my friends. Let's see if I can't I don't think I can get to the main screen here. So give me a moment while I launch the game again to get back into that. Okay, this, my friends, has been RAIDBORN. It is by Phoenix Games. It is on Steam right now in early access. Currently $25 US. As always, I will leave links down in the description so you can do your own due diligence. Thanks so much for watching, everybody, and I will see you